so dated and inefficient. And so what I find myself doing with these storage compartments is I'm just constantly digging around, and it's really annoying. You know, especially if it's, you know, in the dark. Like if you're trying to find gear, you know, while the sun's going down, or at night on a campsite, or when it's freezing cold and you're trying to dig through these compartments and figure out where your stuff is, it's just not ideal. So, you know, that would be huge. And, you know, while they're at it, you know, obviously they should add wireless charging. That would be awesome. I did install this quad lock, which is compatible with my iPhone case. And the reason I have quad lock is because that's how I attach it to my bike handlebars, for, you know, using trail forks and getting directions and all that kind of stuff. So wireless charging, that's got to be on the next 4Runner. What else? I think the other major one would be the rear cargo area, which is awesome because it's huge and there's lots of hooks and you know, fits a ton of stuff, which is great. You know, that's one of the main selling points over a Jeep Wrangler or even the new Bronco, is you're just going to get a lot more space. But I think it's really unfortunate that the seats, when they're folded down, they're not completely flat. They're almost flat, but they're not completely flat. And when you do fold the seats down, the way the seat bottoms fold up, it's really unfortunate. There's just not enough room to have a full, like, average adult laying down to sleep in. So what ends up happening is you have the seats folded down, and even with like a camping pad and whatnot, you end up having to sleep on kind of an angle, you know, if you're average height or higher. I'm only 5'8", and yeah, I have to sleep on an angle, and it's just not ideal. And then because the seats don't go completely flat, you've got this kind of bump that you have to accommodate for with extra padding or blankets or something to make it tolerable to sleep in the 4Runner. And I know that there's all sorts of solutions to that, you know, taking out the seats, and you know, you could put in a platform and sleep on that. I just don't want to do all that. And my point is from the factory, the next 4Runner, I really hope that they figure out how to have an average size or above adults, preferably 2, that can sleep in the 4Runner without, you know, having to be uncomfortable. Because it's such a good camping vehicle, such a good road trip vehicle, it would really be a shame if they don't fix that problem. Other than that, I think the storage compartment, the cargo area is really cool. You know, they've got the outlets back there, which are fine. You know, it would be nice if they kind of upgrade those items to kind of modernize, so you can have, you know, better charging for devices and things like that. But overall, it's pretty cool, and it fits so much stuff. So, you know, I almost never need extra storage. I shouldn't say that, because that's part of the reason I'm going back to Chicago and driving, is because I have to get what's left of my apartment that I left. But in terms of normal camping trips and road trips, plenty of space for multiple people, and it's been really good in that regard. What else? I think the other negatives, the tires that it comes with, and this has been covered. This has been, you know, beaten to death in reviews and whatnot. But the tires that come on the truck, they're just like all-season tires. They're just not meant for any kind of real off-roading. So that's unfortunate. They should at least give you an option to spec all-terrain tires from the factory, because otherwise you basically have to, you know, trade or sell your stock tires and then go get all-terrains right away, which is what I did. up going and getting KO2s at Discount Tire, and I love these tires. I'll talk more about that later, but it's just a shame on such an off-road capable vehicle that you have to bother with getting better tires when you just spent 40 grand plus on a vehicle. It just doesn't make any sense, especially now that there's so many truck competitors that will give you the all-terrains from the factory. It's just, it's a, in my opinion, it's a must-have for the next iteration of the 4Runner. And then kind of in a similar fashion, the steps, you know, they include, you know, either you could get Predator bars, you could get these, like, you know, more plasticky, like, side step rails. I think they even have somewhat of a rock slider option, but it's not really a rock slider option. It kind of just looks like it, and it looks a little better. But, like, most of those options are just not in line with what this vehicle is and what it's capable of. I get that sometimes you might want the step, but, like, those big Predator bar steps, they just get in the way with off-roading. So it's kind of silly that they equip those on so many of these 4Runners. It's just like a waste of an option, in my opinion. So I would really like to see, again, from the factory, at least a really viable rock slider option available on the 4Runner, because you could get them on the Bronco, you can get them on the Wrangler, and some of these other trucks. So again, for the new 4Runner, I think that's a must-have. I went ahead again, and I took off the Predator bars, went to RSG Off-Road in Colorado, and got some real rock sliders, which I love. But again, that's like another $1,000 that you have to spend. Not the end of the world, but again, not ideal when you just spent 40 plus on a vehicle in 2021. All right, so that's kind of like